welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. I'm Maisie, and this is Maisie with a Z, and welcome to the first day of Bookmas on my channel. I'm going to be trying to do 12 videos in a row in the days leading up to Christmas. So I thought I'd start off by doing a video I've been meaning to do for a while, where I talk about every series I'm currently reading, and also DNF some series that I'm realistically never going to get back to. For this, I'm going to have to pull up my series tracker on Notion. These are all the series I have in progress. This is all the series I've completed. So, according to my tracker, I currently have 92 series in progress, which is too many series. So I thought I'd kind of go through them one by one and either DNF them or not DNF them and just say a bit about them. First up is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. If you've been on the book community recently, then you've seen this. And I read the first book, absolutely loved it, gave it 5 stars. This is a very high priority series for me. You know what, I'm actually going to create a priority filter for this. Let's make it a multi-select. This one, I own the next book. Okay, I think that's a good system. And then next up is London Highwaymen. I believe there's only 2 books in the series. I read an arc of the second one. And this is queer historical romance. I do really want to read the first one at some point, but not enough that I'm desperate to read it right now. Let's do medium priority. And then next up is Divergent. I assume you know what Divergent is. And I read the first 3 books back in middle school, and then I've owned the short story collection for absolute ages. And do I ever want to actually read this or not? I'm not sure. What do the reviews say? I was reading the 3-star reviews for books because I feel like they give the most realistic expectations. I'm gonna put this as maybe DNF. It seems like a pretty short book, so I don't want to fully DNF it. I want to give myself a chance. Next is The Witch, the Sword, and the Cursed Knights, and I read an art. This is a middle grade fantasy series, I believe based on King Arthur. I might be making that up. It's a middle grade fantasy series, and it's set at this school for knights, and I remember enjoying it. I don't think I enjoyed it enough to read the sequel. But on the other hand, I did enjoy it. Being released on September 12th with only 24 ratings isn't great. We'll put this also at low priority and maybe DNF. And then we have our first definitely DNF, which is Replica by Lauren Oliver, and this was a train wreck. I did not enjoy it. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna make a new, probably new one under complete. Okay, change that color to red. Yes, okay. So this one, we are officially DNFing. And it's not there anymore. That's exciting. Next up is The Ravens by Cass Morgan, and this is another one where I really liked the first book. It's just, one, I don't know if the second book is necessary, and I also don't know if I'm actually interested in reading it. I glanced at the reviews, and it didn't sound super interesting. Okay. I've looked at the Goodreads reviews. It's not looking too great. I think I'm gonna DNF The Ravens, which makes me sad because I do really like the first book, but I don't feel like the first book needed a sequel, and a lot of the reviews seem to uphold that. So I think I'm gonna DNF it just because I'm not interested in reading the sequel. And then we have Furthermore by Tahira Mafi, and this is another series where I read the second book and not the first book because it's a companion novel type situation. And that was Witchwood. I really loved that book. I really do want to read the first book, but it's definitely a low priority for me. Another DNF, We Were Liars. I hated that book. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And then Last Night at the Telegraph Club is, I own the next book, and it's medium priority. Where I really enjoy the first book, it's historical sapphic romance, and the second book is a companion novel. It takes place a couple decades later, and I am really interested in reading it, and I own it. It's just not as high priority as the next Legends and Lattes book, necessarily. Where I'm going to put high priority is anything I want to read, immediately, or just really want to get through, which is especially true for things where the longer and longer I wait after reading the first book, the more and more I'm going to forget it, and the harder it's going to get to read. 1,000 Nights by E.K. Johnston is a book I read in 8th Yeah, I read Spindle in 8th grade. I think this is another book where I read the second book first. And I do like E.K. Johnston as a writer. I just don't know if I'm actually interested in reading this book. This looks kind of interesting, but I think I am going to DNF this just because it's been, 6 years since I read the first book? Or read the other book in the series, and I just don't feel... I don't want to fully DNF this. Okay, But on the other hand, I don't think I'm ever going to read it. I'll DNF it. Just because it sounds kind of interesting, but, I've never heard anything about this book. I read the other book in the series years and years ago, and then Tokyo Ever After is iffy because I enjoyed the first book, and I read the second book and DNF'd it, and now I've been trying to pick it up again recently, but I honestly just don't think I care. I'm also going to DNF this, and if I do end up finishing the book, because, the only reason I've been thinking about finishing the book is because it's, contemporary romance, and I DNF'd it at, 65%. Where finishing it would take me, an hour. So I'm going to DNF it, but if I'm ever bored enough to finish it, then I'll just go back and retroactively add it. Lady Janie's, I own the next book. I'm going to put this at medium priority. I'm almost hesitant to count these books as a series, just because, they're not at all related, other than all being about, magical retellings of historical characters with the name Jane. But I do own the last of these 3 books, which is My Calamity Jane, and I do need to read it soon. And then we have 100 Kingdoms by Alexander Christo. I don't remember what... Oh! That's To Kill a Kingdom. I forgot there's a second book to that. Well, I would very much like to read the second book to that. So yes, I would like to read that. But it's very low priority because it seems to be a companion novel, and also, I don't own the next book. Happily Ever Afters, I think I believe that's middle grade contemporary. It's either middle grade or very young YA. Okay, it's young YA. This is another one where I didn't remember as a series. This is a case where I didn't like the first book. What's the premise of the second book? That does look kind of fun, but I didn't like the first book. I'm taking the reviews that say the main character's annoying, and I'm DNFing this series because even though the premise sounds interesting, I can't deal with annoying main characters. And that's gonna be it. Deathcast, I'm DNFing. I didn't like They Both Die at the End, so I have no interest in reading the other book. Of Fire and Stars is... This is difficult for me because this I think was the first sapphic book I ever read. I never actually got around to the second book because I don't remember the first book that well, but I'm scared to reread it because if I don't want to ruin the memory of it for myself. So I do own the next book, but I don't want to DNF it because I loved this book so much when I was in 8th grade. But also, I'm scared to return this series because I loved this book so much when I was in 8th grade and it was so important to me. I'm gonna put this at own next book and medium priority, but I might DNF it just because I don't know if I could handle reading the second book and not liking it. Simon Snow, I own the next book. It's high priority because I just gotta get this done because I'm rapidly forgetting the first 2 books in the series. Jane Austen Murder Mysteries is medium priority. I mean, I really want to finish it, but I don't own the next book, so we'll put medium priority. I think anything where I don't already own the next book should automatically go in medium priority, just because I'm trying so hard to finish books that I own, that any series where I own the conclusions or own the next book in, I should make progress on those before continuing on the ones I don't own the next book in, Roots Chaos, I do own the next book and is a very high priority. That's one of my big goals for the new year is finishing that. I read Pirates of the Orange Tree in the spring and absolutely adored it, so I'm super excited for Day of Fallen Night. Series Bending Society, I do own the next book, medium priority. This is a case where it's a little like a Fire Stars, but not really. Well, it's like a Fire Star and Stars, and it's like the Chalice of the Gods, where it's just... These are all series that were so important to me at different points in my life that now I'm not sure I want to go back and read new additions to them just because I'm scared it will ruin it for me. Percy Jackson was my entire life for so long, but I'm scared of reading the new books and having them not be as good, Because I just don't want that ruined for me. And it's also the same thing as why I avoid watching book to TV adaptations of books that are really important to me after watching the Mysterious Bending Society adaptation, just because, and that's why I'm not gonna watch the Percy Jackson adaptation. It's just these books were so important to me as a little autistic kid with no friends or anything, and I don't want movie adaptations messing up with it for me, Because even if it's the most perfect adaptation possible, and the Percy Jackson adaptation, Rick Riordan seemed really pleased with, and I'm sure it's going to be a great adaptation, I just don't want to risk it for me because it's so important to me. Anyway, moving on from that. That's low priority. And then we have The Book of Tea by Judy I. Lin. And I read the first book in this, which I was very much anticipating, and then it was a huge disappointment. I read that, I think, last month. You know, I think I'm gonna DNF it. Like, when I finished it, I was half tempted to just read the second book to find out what happens, but, like, honestly, I don't think I care. Yeah, we're gonna DNF that. We're being brutal here. Or, like, this is brutal for me. Dangerous Damsels, India Holton. I own the next book, and this is high priority. I love this series. It's a Victorian era fantasy magic hijinks, and it's just so fun. Once in Future, I do own the next book. It's high priority because I barely remember the first book, so I really just need to get on it. Exact same thing goes for These Violent Delights. And then the Kiss Quotient, medium priority. I really want to finish this, but I don't own the next book yet. But I love my little, like, autistic romances, and I will read anything Helen Huang publishes from now on. St. Rosetta's Academy. Is the next book even out? Like, I am a Sandhya Menon stan. I feel like this has not been getting as much publication as it should have. Yeah, 87 ratings after being published in 2023. That's weird. Yeah, I'm reading this. There's no doubt that I wasn't reading this. That is solidly medium priority. I remember the first few books pretty well, even though I read them a while ago. But I don't own the next one. I don't own any of them, actually. Sing Sisters, medium priority. I really enjoyed the first. I read an e-arc of the first book and really enjoyed it. The second book came out a couple months ago, I think, and I really do want to read it. Lizzie Bennet Diaries, low priority. Where this is their two companion novels to the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which is a YouTube adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, and which is so good. You should watch it. Like, just search Lizzie Bennet Diaries on YouTube. It's so fun. There's a second companion book that I haven't read, but I do hopefully want to read it at some point. It's just not a huge priority for me. American Royals, medium priority. I want to be done with this train wreck of a series. Like, this is just... I'm never reading any Catherine McGee books ever again after this, because this and the Thousands Floor series are both just written like soap operas where there seems to be no real plan for any of them, and it's just so bad. Like, it's addicting, but it's so bad. Once Upon a Broken Heart, I am currently halfway through the last book, so I own the next book, and it's a high priority. Deathless, is that Gilded, or is that the Gilded ones? It is the Gilded ones. So I did DNF the Merciless ones, which is very sad because I loved the first book. But I honestly think the first book should have just been a standalone because I don't think it was working. You know, DNFing it. I'm sorry. If this author writes any more series, I'll definitely read them because I really liked the Gilded ones. This series, it was just not for me. I don't know why, because I really enjoyed the first book. It's just the second book I could not get into. And I didn't care about any of the characters except the protagonist, and it was just, not the best. So we're DNFing. Mistborn, I own the next book. This is high priority. Scattered All Over the Earth, low priority. I don't know if I'm continuing it or not. The first book was, kind of interesting, but I read it for school, and I don't know if I'll be interested in reading the second book. So keep it, I don't want to DNF it yet, but it's not looking great. Conqueror Saga. That's something I haven't thought about in a long time. I don't even remember how long this series was. It was only 3 books. I read the first one and I DNF'd the second one. And I DNF'd the second one back when it came out, which was in 2017. So having DNF'd the series for 6 years, I do feel comfortable just saying I'm done. Granted, I read an e-arc of that. That's also DNF. It was not well written. Knock 'Em Out. I really liked the first book in this. Was it the best thing I've ever written? No, but it was super fun. But I don't know from the descriptions if I'm interested in the second and third ones. Yeah, I think I'm comfortable DNFing this, where even though I did really like the first one, it doesn't need companion novels, and I'm just not interested in the other two. Kingkiller Chronicles, I own one of the 2 novellas for this, so I'm keeping it. Next book. Medium priority. It's just, every year it looks less and less likely that the series will ever actually be finished, which makes it harder and harder to care about finishing the novellas. But we're putting it medium priority. Anna the French Kiss, we're DNFing. One of Us is Lying, we are definitely DNFing. The Aurora Cycle, I own the next book. I want to put in, is high priority. I barely remember the first book, but Kingdoms of Sand and Sky, I don't even remember. That is This Princess Will Save You. That's a low priority, but I would be interested in continuing it. It's very heavily inspired by The Princess Bride. Smoke Thieves, I'm going to DNF. There's no chance I'm not DNFing this, but I'm just curious about when I read the first book. 2019, yeah, I'm just not interested. DNF. Charlotte Holmes, definitely DNFing. This was a Sherlock Holmes retelling series, but I just didn't enjoy it that much when I was reading it, and I think I stopped reading it years ago. Bright Falls, I DNF'd the second book after really liking the first book, and it's another romance series like Knock 'Em Out, where like, even though I liked the first books, I don't care that much about continuing it when I don't enjoy the premises of the later ones. So DNFing. Modern Fairy Tales. I read Tithe a long time ago. I don't think I care about finishing this. We'll DNF it. Hazelwood's definitely DNF. Crimson Axia, medium priority. I do want to read this, and it's all on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm hoping to finish it soonish. Although I think more books are coming out after these, so I do want to finish this. Regency Fairy Tales. I own the next book, and it's high priority. Inheritance Games. This is one I'm not sure what to do with, because it's like there was the original trilogy and now there are companion novels, and I just finished the original trilogy last night and I don't think I care about continuing with it. Like, I don't think I care. But also I don't know if I should count this as finishing a series since the later ones aren't really related to the same story. But I'm tempted to just, like, the first 3 books are sold as a box set, as like a trilogy. So I feel okay saying I finished the series. I want to look at how the 4th and 5th books are presented while we're waiting. This was an absolute train wreck of a series. Or it wasn't a train wreck, it just wasn't good. Like, I didn't care about the characters at all, which is another reason why I don't care about. Yeah, this is Return to the World of the Inheritance Games trilogy. The Grandest Game says new chapter in the Inheritance Games saga. So there's a brand new series in the world of Inheritance Games. Okay. You know what? I'm going to say that there were only 3 books in the Inheritance Games, and I finished it. I'm done. I think that counts as a series I finished, I'm going to be honest. Heartstopper, low priority. I don't enjoy Heartstopper that much, just because I don't like the art style, and I don't care about the character. Like, it's just not interesting to me. Like, I understand a lot of people enjoying the just kind of, like, cozy vibes, but I feel like the characters aren't compelling and I just don't care that much. But I do eventually want to finish it. New Kid, DNFing. I read the first book of New Kid like on a whim because it was available on Libby. I don't think I enjoyed it very much. System Divine, low priority. That's a sci-fi Les Mis retelling, but the first book I read absolute ages ago and I don't think I remember much of it. Yeah, I read it when it first came out, so I think 2019. We're gonna put that as low priority. I might eventually DNF it, but we'll see. Gilded Wolves is hard because I read the first book, I think I enjoyed it, but then I don't remember any of it. But I own the next book, and I'm curious what the reviews for the second book are like. This sounds kind of fun. Okay, I think I am going to at least try to finish this. We'll put it medium priority. What If doesn't really count as a series, but I do own the next book and I do want to finish it. When it's nonfiction, so whatever. Darkest Minds, I own the next book. I don't care about the series at all, but I want to finish it. The books don't take that long to read. Put that medium priority. Ella's Curses, I own the next book. That's high priority. Or that's the next Shadowhunters book. Actually, that's in my closet. My Shadowhunters books used to be here, but then they had to move because they no longer fit on the shelf. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This isn't even wrestling with a lot, because I enjoyed the first, arc of the series, but then I didn't care about the second one, and even though I own the next book, I think I'm going to DNF it. Because I haven't made any progress on this in absolute ages. And, even though I really like this world, it took a lot for me to give 3 stars to any book back whenever this was. Back in 2017, it took a lot for me to give 3 stars to a book. So yeah, I most recently read one of these books in 2018. So I think if I haven't picked up a book in a series in 5 years, I'm realistically never getting back to it. So we're DNFing. Racing Realm in progress. I own the next book, and it's high priority. Actually, we'll put it in. I feel like I need a better system for high priority versus medium priority. I'm gonna put it medium priority because I own the next book, but I don't own Sea Sparrow. A lot of my high priority ones are are series I can finish or be completely caught up on if I read the book that I already own. And since that's not the case with Racing Realm, then I can put medium priority. But Beartown, I own the next book, I'm going to put in high priority because I love Frederick Bachman. I just love him. Legendborn, I'm putting in low priority because I do want to finish this series, but I do want to wait until late 2024 to read the second book in the series because then the third book doesn't come out. The third book comes out in 2025, and I already don't remember much of the first book, so I'd really rather just wait to pick the series back up again, especially since I don't own the first book, so it's unlikely I'll be I'd rather wait. I really want to finish the series, but it's going to be 9 or 10 months before I pick it back up again. A Girl Called Echo. I think I liked the first. I remember finding it very confusing, but I liked the art style. When did I read this? I read in 2020. I'm not that into time traveling. I think I'm gonna DNF it. Green Glass House. I don't own the next book. This is a solid medium priority, where I love the first book in the series. I reread it every Christmas. It's so cozy and fun and has like such great like middle grade puzzle vibes. It's just, I've never actually read the other books in this universe. Or I've read the second book. I haven't read the other books though. But I do really want to read them. The Up and Under, low priority. It's another middle grade fantasy series, and I read the first book. I enjoyed it. Not like rushing to finish it. Grishaverse, and the next book, high priority. Where I just have Rule of Wolves left, and The Demon in the Wood, which is the graphic novel version of the Darklings prequel story. Blood and Ash, low priority. This is just so... My relationship with Blood and Ash is so weird, because I read the first 3 books, just kind of like binge read them in the spring, and then I don't think I care, like, the world just, it's just steadily devolving, where the first book was pretty decent romantasy, it just gets worse and worse, and I don't know if I'm interested in continuing it. ACOTAR, high priority. I've read the first 2 books, and I just finished Kingdom of Ash earlier today, so the Court of Thorns and Roses series is my goal for the next month, so that I can read the Crescent City books before Crescent City 3 comes out. The Past Miroir, I own the next book. Medium priority. I own the second and third book. I've read the first book, and then I don't own the 4th book, so it goes to medium priority. Empyrean, I own the next book. High priority. Iron Flames on my TBR for this week. I might have already read it by the time this video goes up. We'll see. Off Campus, DNF. I read the first book. It was kind of enjoyable, but a complete train wreck and very sexist. It's just not very good. Like, it's just not my type of romance. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've read the first book in 9th grade, I think. I do eventually want to read all the books, but it's not remotely a high priority for me right now. Bridge Kingdom. This also, Daniel L. Jensen does, I think, like, series of duologies in the same universe. And so, like, I read the first 2. I'm curious how many there are. So I'm interested in continuing this series. But because it's such duologies, then, like, I don't feel super, like, I need to do it right now. Keeper of the Lost Cities, low priority. I'm at a point with the series where, even though I really loved it as a child, I just don't like the way the characters and series are going, so I'm waiting for the last book to come out, and then depending on... I'm going to intentionally read spoilers about it, and then that's going to determine whether I actually finish the series or not. Because I do really enjoy the first 6 books in the series, but there's one character I hate so much, and I don't like the way the love triangle's going. Like, I just don't like any of it. So that's we're waiting, and I don't even know when the last book's scheduled to come out. Expected publication November 2024. So yeah. That's low priority. And also maybe DNF. Anne of Green Gables is low priority, where I've read the first 3 books. And I do eventually want to read all of them, because Anne of Green Gables is my favorite book ever, so I do eventually want to read the rest of the books. But it's not high priority for me. Like, there's a lot of other classics I want to read before that. Bridgerton. I read the first book and hated it. I've had people say it gets better after the first book, but we're doing a low priority there. Where I want to give the second book a try before DNFing it altogether. Veronica Speedwell, medium priority, where I really want to continue the series. I've only read the first book, but I don't own the next book yet. Spy Family, I own the next book, high priority. I love Spy Family. Machado Atelier, I own the next book, high priority. Another manga series. Hercule Poirot. I'm actually just going to remove this as a series because I'm not actually interested in reading all the Hercule Poirot books. So that's just going bye-bye. Like, I'm not actually interested in, like, trying to complete that. And then, you know, The Dawn and One Piece are low priorities for now until I can figure out a good way of reading them. Because I'm not interested in collecting them because they're so long. But my library doesn't have them available on ebook. And so, like, I still don't know how I'm actually going to read them. But I am interested in continuing them. And then we just have the book series I'm caught up on, which are Mr. Darcy and Miss Tilney, which is Jane Austen murder mystery series, Instant Karma by Marissa Meyer, where the next book is coming out sometime next year. I think it's in the next couple months. The Unseelie duology, autistic YA fantasy. The next book's not coming out till 2025 because the imprint that publishes them was dissolved and then it got moved around. Kingdom of Three. Oh, I think I'm DNFing that. Yeah, Strike the Zither. That was a very confusing book. I read an e-arc of it. It was not good. Same goes for Runestone Saga. Stolen Heir, Truly Devious, Sansi Trilogy. Emily Wilde. Those I'm all definitely continuing whenever the next book comes out. They're all series I absolutely love. The Middle Mist trilogy, I might DNF, but I'm not sure. It's kind of like the first book I read an arc of. It was kind of a mess, but it's also kind of fun. But that's like a wait until the next book comes out to decide if I'm continuing it. Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, I'm definitely continuing. I love it. I'm vaguely curious how many I DNF'd. So I DNF'd 25 series, and I deleted one. I went from 90-something series to 64, which is, I think, good. I'm glad to have pruned that down a bit. And then let's filter. Let's sort. I want to change this to priority. Okay, I'm okay with this. And I think this gives me a good plan of attack. Like, lots of these are pretty short series that I can knock out. A big goal for me for the next year is, in addition to reading as much of my physical TBR as possible, is finishing as many series I'm currently reading as possible. Like, ambitiously, I'd like to be to 25 series or fewer. I think not counting manga. And that's gonna be, like, the in-progress ones, not the caught-up ones. We'll see. I don't know. I still need to think a bit more about my goals for the year before I say anything. But this is definitely gonna be a huge priority, is cutting down on this. So, yeah, that's every series I'm currently reading. I hope you enjoyed the video. I think in the new year I'm gonna be starting a series about finishing every series I'm currently reading. Or maybe. We'll see. I'm toying with either a reading down my physical TBR series or a reading down the series I'm currently reading video series. Just because I want some way to keep accountable for one of those goals, and I don't want to do both of them. Yeah, so thank you for watching the end. Please like, comment, subscribe. You can find me on Goodreads, Storygraph, Instagram, or my blog at the links on my channel. And yeah, thanks again for sticking around to the end, and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, especially in the upcoming days as I do bookmas. And yes, thanks again for sticking around, and I'll see you later.